Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. What's up, everybody? Big Herc, fresh out. You're tuned into another edition of Prison Talk. I'm here with the homie Bounce Back B, you know what I mean, kicking some game, sharing some prison talk questions, and we get a lot of feedback from you guys, so we try to keep you guys in the loop, and I like to get a little bit of diversity in the answers, so I have Bounce Back B here, answering some of the questions. So B, man, how do they deal with chomos and rats in the prisons in Florida? I mean, out here, if you're a chomo, if they find out you're a chomo, dude, you are not getting no pass. You know what I mean? A motherfucker has a duty to split your wig or let it be known, because if he condones that, he's gonna get his wig split. Same thing, and it's the same thing if you're a snitch. If you done snitched on a bunch of motherfuckers, man, ain't nobody gonna be kicking it with you and being your homie. So how does that work down south?
It's really funny because, like, most people would say, damn, chomo, right, is going to be treated worse than basically anybody or anything inside the system. But a person labeled a chomo and then a person labeled a snitch, when you compare the two, the guy that's a known snitch is going to be treated hands down worse at most of the places. But it really depends on where you're at. It depends on what camp you're at. It depends on the type of guys that are at the camp, because they're constantly transferring people. So they have over 100 prisons in Florida. There's like 110 prisons in Florida. So what they've done is make it like a micro prison climate, so they don't have like 3 or 4 or 5 prisons where there's just a bunch of people and everybody knows who you are. And they transfer people a lot. So it's constant revolution.
So you don't know who's coming from where?
Yeah, you don't know who's coming from where. Guys don't carry their paperwork on them. Guys can come and say whatever, but what has changed at big time? Cell phones. There's cell phones on every compound. Now guys can get in, put your DC number in, they pull you right up. Oh, what'd you say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's changed the game. People are being more exposed as far as that goes. And it really just depends. Like, for instance, the chomo. He might go to this camp, no problem. Nobody's messing with him. Another thing that depends is the man's age. If he's like 65, 70, he's an old man, nobody's usually not messing with him.
Even if they know
might
he's a
extort
chomo?
him, even if he's a chomo. They usually what they'll do is like extort him, but jump on him, beat him up, split his wig, crack his shit. That typically isn't going to happen to an older guy. A younger guy, depends on where it's at. A lot of the younger guys, if they end up somewhere and they're a chomo, they ended up at a place where it's off the chain, where it's wild. Yeah, they get their shit split. They get their wig split. They will jump on them, and they'll have them paying. Either they'll be paying or they'll go check in. They gotta go confinement.
I know, like out here, like, so say if there's a chomo among the white guys, and they find out, it's like basically they clean up their own house, and it's like, because everybody has a duty. So if you or even if a dude rolls in from like some particular clique, whether it's a Crip or whatever, he's like, oh, that dude, we found out he did this to so and so. What? I mean, it's like you almost gotta do internal cleanup. I mean, they don't do that there, as far as like, say if a dude rolled up and they found out, like, dude, that dude's he did this and that, and they're like, they don't clean up like that, or they just kind of like, they'll give a dude a pass, or.
So I've been from the top to the bottom, a bunch of different prisons. They've transferred me all over the place. So I've been at the worst ones. I've been at one prison I landed at that was a gang disciplinary camp. So that's just gang members that had been in trouble, stabbing, cutting, killing people, a wild ass camp. Even then, dudes get passes. Wow. They do get passes. What it is there's not a lot of organization. There's not a lot of people don't really stick together and have certain rules that everybody abides by. So and a lot of that comes from they transfer people so much and so frequently, guys can't build a good clique and good rules that everybody has to live by. I mean, the biggest rule there is respect, and treat people with respect, carry yourself with respect. But chomos, child molesters, rapists, sex charges in general, I mean, where they should be crashed, where people should be doing things to them, a lot of times they'll get a pass.
Wow.
But it just depends on the environment. But then you'll go to another place. I know a guy, his roommate was a Chomo. He killed a man. He just said he wasn't going to be in a cell with this man. He didn't want to be around this. He didn't condone it. He didn't like it. He killed the man. So, I mean, it could vary. It could go from pass, nobody's messing with you, to death. You know, it just depends on where you're at and who you're around.
What if they find out, like you said, about like a rat, like somebody's a hot boy? Because I've seen where dudes, you know, be kicking it on a compound, and then dudes like, dude, we don't found out. Look, dude's paperwork ain't good.
Right.
You know what I mean? You guys got to check him in, or we're gonna check all you in.
Yeah, and that it just depends on where you're at and who you're around. But a snitch, typically, 9 out of 10 times is treated worse. Treated worse than like a Chomo. 9 out of 10 times. If they find out, and it's going to follow you, it doesn't matter where you go, where you transfer to. The safest place for those guys, and it's sad, but a lot of those guys just check in. They go to confinement. They can't stand up and face who they are and what they've done. You know, and if they do, at some places, they're just going to run them through there. They'll take their life from them at some places, or some people will. It really depends on who you're around and what camp you're at.
Because I know, I always tell people, like, you know, you tell on people, dude, you know, you might be good at a compound, but it only takes one person to show up like, hey, man, that dude told on my case.
That's
you know
all
what I
it
mean?
takes.
And he might have told on a conspiracy that had like 20 people, and he only got 5 years, and he think he going to get that 5 years and skate free, but you never know who's going to show up.
You don't know. And that's all it takes is one person to spread the word. And it could turn into something. But as a whole, in the state of Florida, it depends on where you're at and who you're around. You know, it depends on the group of people that are there. And it might just be one person come to that compound, change the entire compound. One guy step off the compound that's about it, that's got a little bit of sense to as far as like controlling people and telling people, hey, this is what we're going to do, and take charge of people.
Kind of organizing.
Organize them. It takes one person to step off onto the compound and change the whole environment, change the whole scene.
Do they have, like, within the institutions, though, like, say, there's a clique of Cuban guys or a clique of, like, Puerto Rican guys, usually somebody who kind of, like, runs that car, like, oh, man, this dude, if he's sitting over here, you know what I mean, if he ain't no good, we can't let him sit over here. Or is there people who kind of run that? Because I know you said there's really not the racial thing, but internally among the different groups, do they kind of, like, somehow discipline each other internally, or it just doesn't really work like that?
No, it does. It does work like that, and it just depends on who's there at the time because of this constant transferring. You know, putting people on the bus. Every day there's a bus, and they're putting people on it, 40, 50 people.
Damn, every day?
All the time. They're constantly transferring. They call it diesel therapy. They're transferring people, and they do that to keep the institutions mixed up, you know, to keep it to where, because if they just leave everybody on the institution for years, guys start figuring things out. They understand how it works. They start building cliques, you know, and they do that just to keep people from doing those type of things.
Wow. So going a little bit off topic now as far as, like, you know, dealing with snitches and chomos. Now, the whole prison industrial complex, because I know Florida has a big prison system. The governor there, he got a lot of kickback for Trump because they want to build more prisons because it's like they're making money. Is that a big thing that you've seen as far as that whole prison employment, with them exploiting prison labor and basically locking people up because it provides an economy for the prisons?
100%. Florida is a prison state. And like I said, they have over 100 prisons.
That's fucking
and
crazy.
where you go, look it up.
That's
It's
fucking
there.
sick, man, yeah.
Over 100 prisons. When you go into these little towns, everybody in this town relies on this prison, right? So they want people to come there. That's what everybody in this town relies on. That's all that these people know. That's what's been in their family for generations and
Working
generations.
in a fucking prison.
Working in a prison. And Corrections Corporation of America is called CCA.
CCA, yeah.
They're headquartered in Florida.
Wow.
They have prisons all over the country. They just, in fact, there's a big thing recently where they just exposed a big riot that happened in 2017, but it was because corrections corporations, they're making a ton of money. They're making a ton of money, and they lobby to have people get stiffer sentences, you know, keep people
harsher drug laws, the whole nine.
Yeah, the whole thing. You know, people going to prison for minor marijuana charges that shouldn't even be in prison. They are lobbying, these corporations that run prisons, lobbying to get people to get harsher sentences, longer sentences.
So they can fill the prisons up.
To fill them up. Yeah, exactly. And then when they fill them up, one of the big issues is that and this is part of the prison protest that was going on a little while back. One of the big issues is understaffing. When they understaff a prison, it's not only dangerous for all the people that are housed there, but even for the people that work there. And so this one that it happened last year, but they just recently exposed it. It was at a prison where they were supposed to have a minimum. They need 20 people to run this shift, minimum of 12. When they go below 12, they get fined. On this particular day, it was in New Mexico. On this particular day, they only had 9 people working, an entire prison.
A whole prison?
An entire prison. They had 9 people working, and they had a guard walking down the wing. It shows him on camera. He stops at a cell, takes a note from a guy, passes it to the next guy. That's commonplace, no big deal. Mm-hmm. I've been on confinement many times. I pass a note, they do that. That's no big deal. He stops at the next cell, talks to the man through the door. This man is the most notorious serial killer in New Mexican history. Look it up. He stops at the door, talks to the man, pulls his key out. He's a new guy, a trainee. Pulls his key out. They only had 9 people working this shift. Pulls his key out, opens the door, pops it. Dude comes out, slides it, looked like some laundry out of the door, and put a knife on Buddy, right to his neck. Put a knife on him, took the keys from the correction officer, and popped all the doors. And they went haywire. They went straight downstairs to a man that was a known snitch, cut his throat. They didn't kill him though, but they nevertheless cut his throat. Yeah. Off top, they got video. They show video of the dudes running around the cell. They took over that wing. They started fires in there. They ripped down the surveillance system. It showed them they're tearing it down. They went haywire. But Corrections Corporation of America, it's just a big company. Then there's multiple companies, but they're privately ran institutions.
Up underneath there.
They're for-profit institutions.
Yeah.
They're profiting on people coming to prison. So
no rehabilitation whatsoever.
Absolutely not. They've completely taken that out. Anything to further rehabilitate somebody.
Schooling, a lot of that stuff, the programs. They get rid of that.
They're not promoting any type of education, because if a man comes to prison and gets an education, life skills.
Yeah.
Not a school education, but life skills that he can apply to the streets, maybe he won't come back to prison.
That's right.
So if they give everybody these life skills,
it'll be empty.
Yeah, well, it will never be empty.
It will be empty.
But it'll be a lot emptier.
Exactly.
And now people are losing jobs. Mm-hmm. So these people are promoting, keep people in prison. Take away the education. That's what they're promoting.
There you have it. Big Hurricane Bounce Back B. Prison talk. Real shit, man.
Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.